Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, for those who aren't familiar, he did a show where he basically was talking about the effects of critical race theory, the effects of the left's racial views. And he was talking about how racial tensions are getting worse and worse the more they fan the flames. And then he said, hyperbolically, I might add, and they took it out of context, that he would encourage people to get away. He would encourage white people to get away from black people. This is what, of course, Elijah Schaffer is pointing to. Here's why I wanted to bring this up. The first thing I want to say is, because we talked about the Scott Adams things last night, is that it seems like after if you look at the full context of what he was saying and a later clarification, he did not believe the Rasmussen poll was sound data. He was making a point about if the data were true, and this is what we're seeing with the expansion of CRT, then he's saying, fine, if that's what the left wants, this is the advice you'd have to give to somebody. In fact, Scott Adams was actually saying that he would advise, based on critical race theory and diversity hiring and stuff, a black person to move to an all-white area so that he could get the diversity job, because that's the system created by critical race theory. Mm-hmm. So he was actually being very critical of this and was opposing segregation. And but I think he dropped a nuke on the conversation on purpose. The reason why I wanted to highlight Elijah Schaffer's tweet in the context of this execution in broad daylight is that whether Elijah is intending to express actual concern or just making a joke, being like, look, this guy, making a meme about it, people are going to feel this way. People are going to see what happens with Scott Adams. They're going to hear what he says. Then they're going to see this video going viral, and it's like millions of views, and they are going to take it to a racial place. So the problem I have with what's going on, I mean, first of all, our culture is decaying, and it's because of what they're doing in schools, what they're teaching kids. They're teaching them weird cult ideologies about how, minorities can't succeed and things like that, which is generating hatred and animosity. You've got ABC News, Univision, funding an organization. This is the company I worked at, Fusion, where the editor-in-chief's Twitter profile says "down with whiteness." And I'm like, what do you think happens when you go around telling people to hate each other based on race? The funny thing is, they're mad at Scott Adams about it. You'll get things like this. Again, not saying Elijah Schaffer is taking it literally. I think he's memeing and being edgy on purpose. But there's going to be a lot of people in this country who are going to look at that and say, yes.
And that's a function of the left. They've been pushing for segregation in every corner of our society for years. They call for segregation in schools. They create black-only dorms. In elementary school, they teach kids that America is fundamentally racist. And so for the left then to go and, claim and, that essentially saying that, if this is what you're calling for, then fine. And then calling that racist, like you can't have it both ways. You can't claim that we should segregate and then somebody says, okay, and then call them racist for it.
They are going to try to have it both ways. They have arguments prepared for people that say that you can't have it both ways. The arguments won't make sense unless you understand their lexicon. They share a vocabulary, but they do not share a dictionary. The things that they say, when you say racist, they will have double meanings, whether it's a position of power and privilege, or if it's a prejudice.
Whatever fits their attempt at winning an argument.
Yeah,
and therefore they win in chaos, right? When people disagree, they thrive.
A lot of times it boils down to a fundamental philosophy that is illiberal. A lot of times you get consequentialists on the left that believe that whatever they do is okay if the consequences are good. The most important point is they are illiberal. The left has moved beyond liberalism. It is now progressive. So they support things like segregation because they believe that present discrimination is what fixes past discrimination, and the only thing that will fix present discrimination is future discrimination. These are things that are ubiquitous in the left currently, and it's infested Paulo Freire's school programs and the curriculum. It's a horrible thing that's going on, and we need to get Paulo Freire's influence out of schools.